See this dark mark where the cursor is? Very dark there. And this one over here, it's still there, but it's lighter. People often ask me when I show them this, why does this look white? And why is this kind of black, orangey, yellowy, brown? It just looks deathly.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Jake Gallen once again for his second appearance on the channel. And today we're going to be diving deep into the world of iridology. So basically all that the iris can tell us about our body, our health, our genetics, and yeah, just in general what the eye shows about the human body. It's a really fascinating topic. It's not something I'm super knowledgeable on, so I'll be learning as well as you guys. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Jake. And meant to say you're also a holistic health practitioner and a lymphatic iridologist. So yeah,
Mm.
I appreciate you coming on the channel. In terms of iridology, what is it, and yeah, why do you sort of use it for anyone who's maybe hearing it for the first time?
Yeah, well, no, thanks, Dylan, man. It's awesome to be back because iridology is, I think, this world's best kept secret. I know that Dr. Morse, my mentor, you've had him on the channel. I've studied it at school. As you said in the previous episode, we covered like a larger plethora of things. Now we're getting stuck into the iridology side of things because it really is a giveaway. And that is the simple reality of you're taking close-up photos of each eye. It's not like you're looking at your past or your future or where have you been or I can see these things. No, it's a very physical oriented modality, and it's such a helpful tool in pinpointing problems in the body, also strengths in the body, and then having an idea of how long it'll take to heal. Because you can have a weakness that may be just acute, subacute. You can have really chronic degenerative weakness, and it'll appear that way. I've dealt with medical doctors, one specifically that comes to mind, where he was trying to sort of thumb down the iridology, saying it's pseudoscience and so on. And I said, well, how come my iridology report matched the findings that your scan found, and yet the client or your patient didn't have to go under any high amounts of radiation other than the radiation of having your phone next to your eye for a few seconds? And he actually conceded to going, yeah, that's true. And that, I think, would lead me into the next section, a little history on iridology. It was actually discovered by a Hungarian medical surgeon. And so he was a Westernly trained medical surgeon. And the story goes that there was an owl that flew into his office. I believe it was at his home. He had like a space at his home. And he tried stealing something, I think, from his office space. And he grabbed the leg. And the owl like froze and got stunned. And as he grabbed, he crushed, I think he broke the leg of the owl. He saw a line appear right down around 6 o'clock. And he didn't know it at the time, but how he got introduced into iridology, because later he saw when it healed up, when he saw the owl again, there was no mark left and it was healed. And what's interesting now is when you look at the eyes, you can see lines, marks, indentations. They look pretty, but what they're actually showing are weaknesses. And anything that is weak in our world, in traditional naturopathic world, natural hygienist world, nature cure, whatever you want to call it, because they're all really under the same umbrella, it's allowing nature to heal through you. You can track it through the eyes. And this is the beautiful part, and we'll get into that in this. And we've got your eyes here, Dylan, that we're going to look at. I'm going to show you live. We'll share the screen. And a book as well that I'll recommend. It's super cheap, I believe, in Australian dollars. I got it for, I think, 15 Australian dollars, which is probably like 8 to 10 US dollars. And it's a little pamphlet on how you can read the eyes simplistically and just get the gist of what's going on. And yeah, it's beautiful, man. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for it.
Amazing. Yeah, I appreciate that intro. It's yeah, like you said, it'll be good to show on screen, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously visually it's a very visually oriented
Yeah,
topic. So
yeah.
yeah, if you want to maybe, I guess, pull that up in a
Mm-hmm.
second.
No,
But
absolutely. And
yeah,
I think as I do that, uh, I wanted to quickly preface actually because a lot of naturopaths, and I get this when I walk into health stores, and I'm buying tincture bottles because I make my own herbs, and I'm working on some products myself, and I've been doing that for about 2 years now, reading herbology books and delving into that and seeing how Dr. Morse formulates, and it's so interesting. You hear Westernly trained naturopaths, they go, "Oh yeah, I know iridology," and then they'll say, and I'll go, "Yeah, the eyes can change. It's incredible." And a very common response I hear is, "Oh no, they can't." And then I said to this one lady, literally 3 days ago, I was picking up tincture bottles for a friend of mine to make him some herbs, and she said, "No, they can't change." And I said, "So why are you looking at the eyes then?" And she's like, "Oh, we can see how to treat something and so on." And in my mind, I'm going, "Oh, there's the treatment word." And I said, "Are you aware of who brought iridology essentially to these universities? The chart that you use, who it's made by?" And she's like, "Oh, well, no." And I said, "It's Dr. Bernard Jenson." And I said, "Have you heard of Dr. Morse?" Dr. Bernard Jenson was personal friends of Dr. Morse's, and he's American, and he pushed American iridology, and that is essentially what I know. And Dr. Morse's school is the only school I know of that teaches lymphatic iridology, and that is where we are looking at the lymphatic system in the eye. Whereas if you go to a traditional school, a Western naturopathic school, they're going to teach German iridology, which is that the eyes don't change, that there's certain principles. They even teach that you can see where you've been and all these things. And anyone listening that's gone to Dr. Morse's school knows that he's got a fair bit to say about the German iridology, and not a fan of it for obvious reasons. And one of them being is that it's not helpful, because if you tell someone there's a problem and they can't fix it, like, really, what are you doing? And the fact is, it's not true. And I'm going to show you guys some cool examples. And there's a recent one I shared on my Instagram of my brother's eyes that changed, which was beautiful. So without
Amazing.
further ado, I'll
Yeah. Yeah, just on that quickly, I think that's great. That's why I like this approach, the more American, and Dr. Morse, Jensen,
yeah,
their
yeah,
work on iridology, because like you say, it's
yeah.
actually empowering. You
Mhm.
can actually do something with the information and actually improve it and watch your eye visibly change, compared to, like you say, the more like conventional approach where
Yeah,
you're kind of destined to have these problems and there's
yeah,
no solution. So that's what we're all about on the channel, just actually
exactly.
empowering people.
It's
It's no
just
good
another.
just
It's a great way. People love visuals.
yeah,
People want to see, oh, my blood test. What do they see? What's this number? That's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever. I'm not so much of a fan of that. What I do like is when I can hear symptoms from a client or know nothing about a client, have a look at their eyes, and then and they go, "Oh, you guessed that." And I go, "Okay, let me show you the chart. Right
Hmm.
there is your shoulder. That's right there in that mark. That's not a guess. That directly matches, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But exactly, it's solution based, and it's empowering because you've got a visual representation of your health now, and you can actually track it. So I always recommend clients, after around 4 to 6 months of a deep herb and fruit based protocol, to do another iridology reading and to see the difference. And I've got a few actually, I'm in the workings right now that I'll be sharing soon. I'm just wanting to do video testimonials with the clients to discuss with them, because something, just before we get stuck in, is that the goal is not to get blue eyes or brown eyes or whatever. It's to feel better, and to have a healthier body. And the fact is, you're going to feel better way sooner than your eyes change. So a lot of people go, "Well, oh, now that you've told me I can get blue eyes, or you can tell me I got this." They get hung up on that, when it's like, well, actually, you want to feel well. It's not about blue eyes. And like that, I had to humble myself into that, because my lymphatic system was not a great lymphatic system at birth, and I still have a lot of thick lymphatic stagnation in my body, but I feel so much better, and my body's not degrading anymore, because the lymphatic pathways have opened up through the diet, and I can see it changing. And it's a little longer road for me, but that's okay. I understand it. But just so when people, if they were to go into this and track their eyes, don't be disappointed if your eyes haven't changed much. It can take time. Nature's wheels grow slow but sure. That's for certain. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. All
yeah.
right, here you go. I'm gonna share. Sorry, Dylan. I'm gonna share this now, and then
That's all right. That's
were you
that's
gonna say
cool.
something?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so the eyes are like a lagging indicator then. So it's kind of like they'll catch up as your health improves. Is that
Yeah,
often what
like,
happens?
yeah. Well, I've heard from Dr. Morse is that it's a live reading. So like when these photos were taken here, this is what was going on in your body right then. But because the lymphatic system is so thick, it's such a it's like a cloud, like a murkiness over. It's like having a pond and having debris in the pond. You can't quite see the bottom. The bottom is still there. You just can't see it very well. And that's
Hmm.
why thick lymphatic stagnation. can take. It's like imagine having a stain on the wall or in the shower, and you're scrubbing it for ages, and it seems like nothing's changing, and then all of a sudden it starts to get lighter and lighter. You may have scrubbed 20 strokes back and forth and not noticed anything, but now you are. So that's where the beginning can seem like, oh, nothing's changed, but you feel better. Your symptomology is disappearing, the symptoms of your disease symptoms are disappearing, and so on. But one of the first things I notice, and people start to notice in themselves alone, is my eyes look brighter. There's more of a
Yeah.
brightness that comes in, a clarity that comes in. Um, and I want to quickly just start with what not a good set of eyes look like. Um,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
these here, these are from Dr. Morse's school. This was an example of a client of a patient of his. This top eye, that's the same eye. That
Yep.
one at the bottom is the same eye. And you can tell, see this dark mark where the cursor is? Very dark there. And this one over here, it's still there, but it's lighter. And people often ask me when I show them this, why does this look white? And why is this kind of black, orangey, yellowy, brown? It just looks deathly. Even the white of the eye, the sclera, is really inflamed and not looking great. What's the difference? And I think I covered this in the first in the video we did, and anyone that's listened to my podcast knows I've spoken to this before, and that is that there's stages of lymphatic stagnation. And to use the pond analogy, which is an analogy I like to use, is that your lymphatic system should be clear in the eyes. You shouldn't see it. So your eyes actually never change color. That is true. Your eyes don't change color. Your eyes are the real color underneath. What you're seeing is the stagnation of lymph vessels over the top of the fibers of the eyes. So that's why this eye on in 2017, you're like, what is it? Brown, yellow, blacky, dark? You don't really know. And then as you see here, it's like whitish yellow, but then you can see more blue coming through underneath. It's now starting to become visible. The real eye color is starting to become visible. And that's because the debris, like in the pond, is being cleared up slowly but surely. And the reason why it's looking so white here and yellow in some places is that's subacute, acute to subacute levels of lymphatic stagnation. Whereas over on the right side, we're looking at really chronic slash degenerative levels of stagnation. So much so that I believe from memory, this person was knocking on death's door from recollection, if my mind is accurate to that. And that female came to Dr. Mawson, got her out of her, I believe she was medically diagnosed with some sort of quote unquote cancer, and she got out of that. But she had a lot of work to do. And so when we understand that the lymphatic system appears only when there's stagnation. So if you see areas that are really clear in your eyes, there's not so much stagnation there. And from no stagnation, you go to acute, and then you go to subacute, and then chronic, and then degenerative. Most people don't really get to degenerative. Usually the subacute, chronic, even acute stages can be the subacute and acute stages. Sorry, that's when people experience tumors, skin problems, hair loss, eyesight decay and loss, teeth damage, teeth decay, all the things that neurological decay, most things people deal with start in just this white and yellow level. So pretty much it goes from clear to white. The level of lymphatic stagnation goes from clear, which is no stagnation, then white, which is acute, then white to yellow, subacute, subacute to chronic is yellow to brown, and then chronic to degenerative is brown to black. So this is where you can see someone that has almost a sunset looking eye. They will have the outer part will look blue, the inner part will look brown, and people will say, you have a hazel eye, or it's like a sunset, it's so pretty. And yeah, it's pretty, but that shows there's a lot of stagnation in the gut, and there's a lot of problems stemming from there, because the immediate part around the pupil is the gut. And I'll show you guys all with this diagram on the side, but this image is a great representation of the change. And obviously this was a long time, quite a few years for this individual, but that is a massive turnaround. And the night and day difference with this example is just apparent. There's absolutely no denying. And this is more so for those people that may be trained in German iridology, saying the eyes don't change, and that's just not true. And yeah, that's beautiful. So I might first begin by just showing this,
Yeah.
uh, showing, if I do this, Dylan, is that still visible?
Yeah, yeah, that's still visible. Still
Perfect. Yeah,
visible.
just so I've got this all now, I can zoom in. So
Yep,
pretty
yep.
much just like in the natural world, there's laws of duality, essentially. And some things in the body, for whatever reason, aren't dualistic. We have one heart, we have one liver, we have one spleen. But everything else seems to split, an appendix on one side as well. Split down the side. You've got left kidney, left hip, two left and right leg. Everything's dualistic, right? Like when you look at a walnut and it looks like the brain and it's that half. There's two halves, right? And so this is why the left and the right are so important. And a lot of people that have problems often experience problems more on one side than the other. And that could be that there's a genetic weakness on that side in the kidneys, and then that's affecting the shoulder. So your right shoulder is really bad, but your left shoulder is really good. And you may notice when you do yoga or when you exercise that you feel pain, stiffness. Could just be stiffness and tenderness. It may not even be pain. Um, but your eyes will be able to you'll be able to see all of this in here. So what I said before about that client who thought I was guessing, at 10 o'clock on the right side, thereabouts is the shoulder. And right there's a big mark. And I remember saying it was shoulder and neck. And I said, look, I don't know what happened to you, but you got a chronic uh, right neck slash shoulder region. It's really bad. And I said, it's not genetic, so it's happened in your life. And she said, well, I had a head-on car crash when I was 16, and it
Wow.
hit that right side of my body, and I've had chronic migraines ever since. And this is amazing because anywhere you see, you can come in, your thyroid, you've got the back on this part, in this part here, the reproductive system, the kidneys, the adrenal glands, everything. And then around the pupil, you've got the stomach and the digestive system. And then, of course, you've got the same for the left side. But obviously, the left side, we've got the heart, we've got the left lung only has two lobes, the right lung has three lobes. This is such a refined chart. Whereas in this book, Iridology Simplified, the one that I mentioned at the beginning, there's actually examples in the beginning of the book of what some of the original um, iridology charts looked like, and they were pretty primitive, to say the least. They weren't great, and these charts that Bernard Jenson put together, they had to use a lot of they had to use so much um, comparing and correlation to find the exact location, match scans with symptomology of different areas, and to get the charts we have now that are used across the planet. This is the most used chart, and it always makes me laugh because these were made by Dr. Bernard Jensen, personal friend of Dr. Morse's, and he taught American iridology, and he understood the lymphatic system very well, that man. So that's what we're going to be using here today, Dylan. Did you have any questions so far, mate? Even ones that maybe people may have that have popped into
Yeah.
your mind?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was a great explanation so far. I think just the one that a lot of people might have is like how many different true eye colors are there? Like
Hmm.
some people say, you've got blue, green, brown, then different shades and things, but how many actual like true eye colors are there?
There's just blue and brown. I'll give you an example right here. So pretty much what we got is we've got shades, and this is a great example. We got shades of blue and shades of brown. And this below is writing the constitution, so the constitution or the genetic strength of the human being. Think of the eyes as a wheel, as spokes on a wheel. This blue eye is a really good example. It's like this is a very clean eye. It's a very strong individual. There's not really much separation in the fibers. But I'm just looking at the blue eye here. But for the brown eyes, think of it more like craters on Mars. It looks like craters, like a meteor's hit it, or there's been some excavation taking place. Whereas the blue eyes, it looks more like a separation, kind of like a cobweb look is a
Yeah.
great way that I think of it too, sort of wispy cobwebs. Um, and think of it as the less straight the fibers become or the more crevices you see, that's weakness within tissue, which means the cells in that area are damaged. If an area is so chronic, like this one down here, for example, on the blue eye, down here, really bad leg. that's genetic. That looks like a genetic leg weakness, and it's just really not great. And then you've got all this webbing happening, and this webbing on the outside here looks really pretty, but they have a lot of problems in the digestive system here, and it looks great. But from a distance, if you were to zoom out, it'd be easy to say that's a green eye. But when we understand primary colors, what do you get when you put yellow over blue? You get green. And what do we have here? Yellow lymphatic stagnation over a blue background. That's why it looks green. So
Mm.
that's my eyes when I grew up were blue, and then I was called Bluebell, Bluey, my mom and family called me. But then as the lymphatic system started to appear thicker and thicker, then they looked green. So in high school, I had greeny yellow eyes. People were saying, you're bluey, greeny yellow eyes. Wow, I wish I had eyes that looked like that. But now you understand that that's the lymphatic system you're seeing. And
Mm-hmm.
for the brown eyes, it's a lot harder to read the lymphatic system. It's much more uh, uh, subtle nuances of change of color. This one here is a pretty good brown eye, but this milkiness is a cholesterol problem. So it's not a perfect brown eye, but the fact there's no marks is pretty as close as you're going to get. And even this individual here still got some marks, some drug deposits, and that can be either genetic from pharmaceutical use, storage in the tissue from taking pharmaceuticals yourself, sulfur. A lot of drugs
Yeah.
are sulfur based, and they store in tissue. But pretty much the more marks you see, the more weak you're going to become. And this rolls onto the genetic side of things. So often when I say to people, you've got a really strong constitution, they go, oh, what do you mean by that? And that is that if you're seeing more fiber separation, like in this medium constitution blue eye here, you're looking at someone whose fibers aren't really, they don't have a lot of integrity left. So this person probably feels a lot of problems. They don't have the worst lymphatic system, but they still have a lot of weaknesses. They've got weaknesses everywhere. There's not really anywhere that's not weak in this individual, especially down here in the kidneys. If this is the right eye, which I think could be the left, but either way, the darkness down here, not great kidneys and not great like a skeletal system for the matter, and the neurological system of this person is not wonderful. So as you get weaker, you can tend to feel more of your problems. This is why, in our opinion, me, like Dr. Mawson, people in my world as being a practitioner, is this is why you see someone with good genes that can absolutely assault their body for their entire life and not feel any problems. I just had a discussion with someone the other day who was talking about, oh, well, so and so ate this or so and so ate that. And I said, okay, cool. Well, you can find old people that have smoked all their life, that don't have lung
Yeah.
cancer, that have all their hair. Does that mean you're going to start recommending smoking cigarettes to your 12-year-old daughter? No, you're not. Because just because that person is doing okay doesn't mean it's good for them. And I would say, I'm going to put it down to genetics. That person has a seriously yielding body that can take a lot of hits. Whereas when you get into this level, like this brown eye down here, this individual here and this individual with the blue eye, they wouldn't be able to do that. I think that you would feel every problem you have. If someone like this could be in their 20s and even younger and have arthritic symptoms, asthma symptoms, major IBS symptoms, and doesn't matter what they do, they're going to feel horrific. And so this is where understanding genetics is really key, and knowing that you can heal them. You can see marks like this become smaller, the eye becomes clearer, more blue, and eventually it can go back to that. Not many people can do that or have done that. I think our generation will see that more so. But those eyes I showed before with how badly black, brown, yellowy they looked, and now they're like bluish white, that is serious work that individual did. And those weaknesses that she had are so much stronger, that she doesn't have those debilitating problems anymore. I forget what the symptoms that she had, but it was medical diagnosis, I believe terminal. So it was
Wow.
pretty bad. Like you couldn't really get worse.
Yeah.
So understanding genetics is
Yeah.
just an amazing first step there.
Perfect. That was a great explanation. And in terms of genetic constitution, so
Mm-hmm.
that can be improved, like you said,
Yep.
but but would that mean you have certain diseases you're maybe more susceptible to, or certain areas that are going to be a bit more problematic? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
symptoms might manifest in those areas.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at your
Yeah,
eyes
yeah.
here, Dylan, as a nice little as a little representation here. Like you're pretty good, man. Your digestive system is the main area here, but pretty much, um, see the yellowing around here,
Yeah.
around here. So I imagine at some point you would have had like a lot of probably digestive issues, maybe sluggish digestion, maybe even bloating going on. There's some yellowing in the stomach area. So that's like a area of contention for you, an area of weakness, which is that, okay, it's not that it's actually that bad. It's more that it's just got a lot of lymph in it. So this is where when you've got a lot of lymphatic stagnation, we got to remember that that's 3 pH. So let's say, like up here, there's some weakness in the mastoid and medulla area, which is part of the brain. There's like some lines coming in. Could be genetic. You can tell it's a little bit potentially genetic because it comes into the bowel wall. And the best way that I understand it is that your digestive tract is where the umbilical cord comes in the fetus, and that's how you get a genetic pass. So that's how you can tell if that's one way, not the only way. That's one way of telling if it's genetic or not. Um, and so, and even some a little bit on the shoulder and the neck here as well. So let's say this was a really dark mark right here. You
Hmm.
might just, no matter what you do pull-ups, push-ups, even with this level here, you could still feel some tenderness or some tightness, potentially even pain, or even aching in that area. But as it gets better, you'll see the mark get less and less and less and less, um, to the point where you don't feel it anymore. And you might even need to write down. I encourage clients to journal. I always take notes for my clients because they can get lazy and they just want you to do it all for them, and that's cool. But I always encourage them to do that because they may whinge or complain because an old symptoms come back up. And then I write down, well, it went away for all this time, and now you've got this big detox happening, a healing crisis. It will pass, and the next thing you know, a few days, maybe a week goes by, they feel $1 million again, and then you go to another iris report in 6 months or so, and that weakness is no longer there, or it's so minimal, and they're like, wow, I actually haven't had a negative symptom in that area the whole time now since we last spoke. And that's what's a beautiful thing is when you see the tracking of how you feel, and then you go look at the eyes and you go, oh, look, there you go. It's actually healed up so much, or it's not even a problem anymore. So yeah, absolutely, Dylan, you can, without a doubt, uh, heal genetic weaknesses. Absolutely.
Hmm.
But we have to, what's amazing with the human body is it'll start doing that before the lymphatic system's even fully cleared up. So, for example, in your eyes here, I don't know if it's visible on screen, but there's like these rings going around, like wee
Yep.
little circles. They're autonomic nerve rings. So they are neurological, that's neurological suppression. So your adrenal glands, which are down here, and I would say, yeah, the adrenal glands aren't looking too happy. Um, and what that is that the adrenal glands, they produce ATP, ANP, ADP. Anyone that does bodybuilding generally takes things like rhodiola root to increase ATP production, which is energy to cells. It's now also, there's been some development from Dr. Morse's side, showing the connection between neurotransmitters being produced by the gut, the adrenal glands, and the brain, and how we need all of them to produce really, really well. Otherwise, the body just won't function well. And this essentially, think of it as, with these nerve rings, think of them as like the electrical department coming to cells. So just coming up into the back area here means that the areas in the spine are being suppressed or restricted neurologically, meaning the nervous system there, the autonomic nervous system, mind you, is not doing too well. So this is where an individual, or like yourself, might be like, look, some good adrenal herbs and actually some good nerve herbs would be a good idea. And this isn't to treat a problem. This is to help the areas that are weak become stronger because you have really, really good genetics, Dylan. Like the fibers are just really great, but you can see the spotting around the edges here, these dots, that's full lymph nodes. And so like we need to support the adrenal glands because they control the kidneys. And the kidneys is what filters out these levels of thick lymph up here in the head region and up here in the shoulder, neck, ear region, even the lung area here. This whole area is pretty thick lymph. And we got to really get that filtered out because it's above the gut, and we've got to support the adrenal glands. We've got to support some nerve herbs, definitely some digestive support as well. But already the magical thing is the diet is already doing that. This is why Dr. Morse will always say, like, don't drop your money on all these herbs. Like, even for his own products, he's like, the diet is the most important thing. And anyone really, as a blanket statement, can pretty much work on their kidneys and adrenal glands because they are the exit doors. The kidneys are the exit doors to this lymphatic system. Your eye is a true blue eye, but we've got some yellowing up here in the transverse colon and around the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. So even sleep may have been some problems for you in the past, potentially even still now and then. I know for me with a slight pituitary and pineal suppression, now and then I can feel it. But as a kid, yeah, I struggled sleeping a lot. It wasn't great. Um, and So these dots, we shouldn't be seeing them. These imagine it's like your sewer system's full at your home, and it backlogs up the toilet, and you got to get the plumber to come over and fix it. And this part here for you, just so we see here, that's between 9 and 10 o'clock. It's really thick. That's the lung, and then up into the shoulder region, and then these darker shades up here heading into the shoulder, neck, and mastoid and medulla. And this is a way of showing a connection of, okay, well, nothing's isolated. We've got some genetic weaknesses up there coming down into the gut. We look at the state of the gut. It's looking pretty even. There's some Humpty Bumpties here and there, but it's not too bad. But it's that lymphatic system again. And people kind of think you're sort of oversimplifying things, but really when you understand the lymphatic system is that main waste system. Remember, that's 80% of the fluid in your body, not the other 20% is blood. This doesn't have a pump like the heart. The heart and the lungs is really what gets the blood moving. The lungs is less understood. That's more Arnold Ehret's side, but these they help move the blood around the body. The lymphatic system, we have movement, yes, but we also have the diet, because there's astringents in fruit. And people will complain and whinge and whine about fruit sugar all day long, but that's just a lack of understanding. And what we need to understand is that the astringent property, the hydrating property, is what's going to get lymph nodes like this smaller and smaller and smaller cleared up, even to the point down here. This looks like it's in the liver region. There's a mark here and even a lymph node, so it's probably a bit of swelling there, and the liver's probably not doing too well. So this would be an example, if that does happen to be the liver, Dylan, and I see the swelling of the lymph node. This is where, as a practitioner, I wouldn't just say, hey, Dylan, jump on liver herbs. And there's a big reason why I wouldn't do that. And medical understands this really well, in most cases. But if there's swelling there, that's going to tell me that area of the body is quite irritated right now. And I don't want to stimulate any part, even with herbs, until I've got good kidney filtration happening, until we get that lymphatic system moving. Because if you give herbs, even though they're great, to an area that's been stimulated and irritated, that's already overstimulated or hyperactive, so hyperactivity, which likely it could be, a way to confirm this is if you were to get a blood panel work done and get your liver enzymes checked and even get some hormones and all of that. You can see if there's a normal hormone production or an overproduction or underproduction. If you're seeing an overproduction, you don't want to be giving that gland or that organ anything at that time. So I'd be hesitant to recommend liver herbs at this moment. That's where, again, working on the lymphatic system is the number one best thing. That's the diet. That's using kidney herbs, adrenal herbs. Work on some good neurological herbs, like gotu kola is an amazing one. It's also great for the brain and blood circulation. Ginkgo leaf from Japan is beautiful as well for that. And then as that starts to move out, and that's the difference between being a novice or being a practitioner is, I had a client who was taking every herb under the sun, and I just said, I don't think taking pituitary herbs is a good idea. And she's like, but I have a pituitary weakness, Jake. Don't you understand me? I said, I do, but it's very stimulated, and we don't want to give it anything more. As soon as she stopped taking the pituitary herbs, everything settled down, and then we could introduce them later once that pressure was taken out. So even up here in the head area, there's a lot of lymph. May not be overproduced, but this is where getting some hormones checked, getting blood work done, it doesn't hurt. It's actually very, very helpful, and I recommend it to most clients. And if they don't want to do it, that's fine. We can play it based on, let's try a little bit of the herb, see how your body responds, increase it to a level that I deem appropriate, and that they're comfortable doing and they're willing to do. And if they're responding well, then that's a pretty clear indication that the body's liking it. But if you notice any weird symptoms of my sleep is all over the place, or I don't feel very regulated, then we want to pull back because it could be too much for the body at that time. So, and I've gotten quite detailed here, but I had to say that when I saw the liver area and the swelling of the lymph node, because it's a very important thing of knowing when to deploy herbs and when to just not do them, because herbs are only used in our world, in traditional naturopathic land, nature cure land, if you will, for very specific periods of time. And then we don't need them forever. They're not treating anything. We're not using them to treat anything. We're helping weaknesses until the body is good on its own, almost like training wheels, if you will, or a tutor, like someone teaching you something. Once you've relearned what to do again, you don't need the tutor anymore. You can go about your day and do your thing. So that's a little gloss over there. And yeah, I'll stop talking now before I go into too much detail and I lose everyone.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. That was great. I think I wish I had my eyes take picture taken maybe a few years back when I first started the lifestyle, just to see
Yeah,
maybe potential improvements or how it's
yeah,
changed. But I definitely feel like anecdotally my eyes have become a bit brighter. People
yeah,
said a little bit more like bright.
yeah,
And yeah, I think it's definitely fascinating. So in terms of just real quickly, you did touch on it, but in terms of, because for most people it is obviously we need to get the lymph fluid moving and we need
yeah,
to improve our lymphatic systems. So obviously you alluded to fruits being a
yeah,
really powerful food to
yeah.
help with that. Also, would you say like obviously some form of exercise, like I don't know,
Great
I know
question.
people say rebounding. What other
Yeah,
sort of ways could people
yeah,
improve their
yeah.
lymphatic system?
Absolutely. Rebounding, dry skin brushing, hot cold therapy like saunas and ice baths. All that needs to be done really intelligently, though. If you're a deprived, physically deprived individual, not a smart idea to be doing these crazy lymphatic detoxes, meaning like these additional things. Relax. People need to remember to relax and to not add more. Because if you're someone, for example, in a wheelchair, you can't do that. You can't move, and their lymphatic system moves, their lymphatic system clears up, and they can regenerate themselves out of the wheelchair and walk again. And this is there's even a lady I saw recently that has a blog website, and I think she got herself out of a wheelchair within 6 months on fruit and herbs. Saw it on one of the practitioner pages. Amazing individual, and uh, what I think is really important to understand is when to exercise, because your body, a way I describe it to clients is energy distribution. Fruits and herbs is high energy. And there are times when you go into a healing crisis where your body has no energy. And I've had clients ask me, why, Jake, do I have no energy and yet I'm on the highest energy diet? This makes no sense to me. And that's why understanding healing crises is so important, because the body is now using all this energy, electromagnetic energy, the water, the minerals. People don't also forget that minerals are used for conductivity in the body. They're essentially conductors, if you will. Really, really important elements that the body can now use that before it was deprived of. People don't realize that cooking destroys virtually all B vitamins, and all vitamins pretty much heat denatures all of them, and the body really can't touch them. So, for the first time in your life, your body can do that. Once that healing crisis is gone, then by all means move your body. Yoga, calisthenics, running, rebounding, walking in nature, swimming. These things are amazing, but what I don't recommend during detoxification is heavy training. This isn't a time for that. For movement, absolutely. Movement is really what we should focus on, not intense exercising, because your body has to use that energy now to repair muscle damage from, putting it under heavy load, weightlifting and whatnot. You can do that eventually, but it's not recommended from the outset, by any means, because of that energy distribution factor, and that the body won't be able to use that energy for repairing a genetic weakness, doing whatever cell repair it needs to do. And that's what a healing crisis or a big detox symptom will look like, as you see a loss in energy, lie down, foggy headed, whatever it may be, pain in an area that's weak. You can feel that as well. And it's always really important, I feel, especially in a day and age where we're so used to that expression of use it or lose it. And I couldn't disagree with that anymore, for one specific reason. And that is that if you put dirty fuel in your body and you're using your body, you will degrade your body faster. A good example of that is bodybuilders. Any bodybuilder that dumps the high protein diet knows they're taking years, they're shedding years off their life, some even 5, 10 years off their life. And they know that. They're willing to make that exchange. So that tells you very, very quickly. They say it's just because of the weight, but it's a combination of that, but primarily terrible, terrible high protein diets, in my opinion, because those dense protein chains literally destroy tissue, destroy kidney function. And if we were to go the other route of detoxification using raw foods, mucusless foods, salads, beautiful nature foods, that we wouldn't have that same decay. I don't think we would see that. We don't have enough, generations of doing that because the human race is, gone quite far off the path. But it's all about when to do the exercising. And I agree, Dylan, that I definitely don't want to see clients just become, and I think you see it a lot in the fruitarian world. A lot of people just sit around the whole
Yeah.
time and they become complacent and stagnant. And yeah, for a time, when your body's telling you to rest, listen to your body. And I think that's the takeaway. Listen to your body because you will get energy coming in. And damn, I did 21-day juice fast. I was at the gym, rock climbing gym. I was doing calisthenics. I was running around like a madman and I still had energy. And I would be rock climbing I would rock climb for 6 hours one day. And I probably could have kept going, but I pulled the skin on my finger. So I thought, no, that'll be enough. But there's a lot of energy that comes in, and for good reason. It's the highest energy food that the planet has to offer, and use it. Definitely use it, 100%.
Mm, perfect, man. Perfect. Love that. Just real quickly, I just had a quick thought. Let's say, like I'm playing football again now, like soccer. Let's
Beautiful.
say, like at the weekend, I got a elbow, like right in the sort of like shoulder trap sort of area,
Mhm.
and like it's still it's still hurting a bit now. With something like that, would it show up? I guess I don't know if acutely is the word, but like at that moment, like when you said earlier with the owl,
The
when it
owl.
had its leg broken, then
Yeah.
obviously you noticed changes in the eye. Is that have you observed that, or is that
Yeah.
a thing you've seen where
It definitely is. If there's already a weakness there, it can be hard to tell. But what is very interesting though is if there's a lot of lymphatic stagnation, you could just see a more murkiness, and that sort of leads me into the left side of your eye here because um I roughly did it here, but I got it. You can see I got the spacing pretty nice, pretty even. Uh, 12, 1, 2, and 3 is see the murkiness here. Sometimes you can't even see underneath it. So for you, and this is with a lot of people, you've got a lot more lymphatic problems on your left side. At
Hmm.
least from this image, there's a lot more thickness, especially in this vicinity here in the back, the throat region. And so let's say over here, this is your that looks like your neck, but your shoulders here, because there's cloud, you may not see much of it. If you were to break it or get in a car accident, I would very much say that you would see an immediate dark indentation. Because see how there's a darkness here, but there's not here?
Yeah.
This looks like it's borderline neck or shoulder. And that's where it would more just be, hey, Dylan, on your left side, do you ever feel any pain or stiffness in the neck or right neck or shoulder region?
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you go, okay, oh yeah, I do, but maybe not on the shoulder. And you go, well, it's right on the line. Like when I do a report, I may just be like, it's so close. So that's where I'll discuss in the consult. This is why we don't use overlays. A lot of schools use overlays. They don't take the individual into consideration because we're not robots. It's not like it's that exact. That's exactly 1 o'clock. It's exactly 2 o'clock. It's exactly 3 o'clock. Um, and so uh, understanding that everyone's a different human being, meaning that we're not just a copy and paste from one another, but we all have the same organs, all have the same glands. They're virtually in the same location. And understanding the lymphatic system, that what you're more going to see is a murkiness in the eye from trauma. Because remember, all those lymphatic vessels, like when you got hit in the shoulder, you don't just have a trauma to tissue. You've got a trauma to the lymphatic vessels and the blood vessels, hence bruising. But people forget about the lymph. That's what lactic acid is. That's what that swelling, burning you get after working out. That's lactic acid production, and your lymphatic system has to deal with that. And so, it's my opinion that you see more of a murkiness. And you can tell you're doing work as well, Dylan, just mind you, because you always see more cloud start to happen as the lymphatic system begins to move. And that's something that I had a client be disappointed. She said, my eyes look worse now. It had been like 3 weeks and she had so much kidney filtration, they looked really murky. And I said, good, your lymphatic vessels are opening up. You can see the dispersion in the eyes. And that's in iridology, that's a good sign because it gets
Interesting.
clearer and clearer beyond that. It's like old trains on a track just slowly starting to move, and now everything's moving. You get this um, bleeding effect, if you will, of the lymph vessels over the eyes. But um, yeah, I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So for in some cases you could get worse before you get better. Often, like as we see with detox, where you sometimes see symptoms and it's like, oh no, my kidneys are filtering all this sediment or whatever, but that's
Yeah,
actually a good sign.
yeah. I'll give you an example here. So I don't know if anyone's told you this, Dylan, and note, don't freak out. I've got one as well. This to me looks like a genetic heart weakness. So people freak out when they hear heart. Like, oh my god, that's the life, and that's the life in my body. It plays a very important role, but no gland or organ is more important than the other. Some are slightly more, but it's not like, oh, that's just, we don't need that anymore.
Yeah,
And so this is where you go, okay, that's quite a significant heart weakness. Well, you can take hawthorn berry, rosemary, motherwort, three of the best heart herbs on the planet. I take these tinctures myself that I make personally, and for a weakness like this, it's not as advanced as mine, but it's a pretty significant weakness. Probably taking these herbs for a good 4 or 5 months, 6 months would be a really good idea. And for any individual with a heart problem like this, but then we got to look at the adrenal glands. Looks like an adrenal weakness here. The kidneys aren't too happy. So we go, what controls the autonomic nervous system? The adrenal glands. They literally control the heart. And so what this can mean is during detoxification, if you're a client of mine, Dylan, I would say you may notice some heart palpitation feelings. You might even feel a bit of pressure in that area now and then. If you have a healing crisis or you're down in energy, you may feel some sensations there that may otherwise freak you out, but no need to freak out. Check your blood pressure. If it's low, taking some licorice root would be a good idea, really supporting the adrenal glands and supporting the heart. With some good heart herbs, and knowing that you may feel some strange things in the area or up in the neck shoulder region. If this is neck, you might notice, man, I woke up today and this left side of my neck is just really bad. It's like bugging me out. And you feel the weaknesses you have. You're not always going to feel them, and someone like you, Dylan, who's got what I would say near immaculately nice genetics, other than the lymphatic system being like the bottleneck there for you, for a lot of individuals is like this, is you can sometimes not even feel your problems when you have really great genes. This is what is just so fascinating, is if you were to see wonky lines everywhere and big crevices, you would likely feel a lot of those problems with a weaker genetic constitution. That's another indicating factor. And I'll say that to clients, look, you may actually fly out the gate and feel amazing majority of the time and not really notice any problems that you have. You may now and then feel a bit of pressure or something, but it wouldn't be uncommon for someone with genetics of this integrity to maybe not even feel anything. And Dr. Morse has joked about that at his school before, about those of you that come in and detox and barely even get a sniffly nose, barely even get a detox, and you heal up and you just fly out the door. He's like, yeah, good for you guys, whatever. But for the rest of us, we'll be over here going through the motions of the initial month. I always say to people that initial month can kick your butt.
yeah,
It can. But also, you can move through it when you move through it, you will be pleased. And it's not always going to be that long. For example, I actually just want to give an example here of what I want to actually show um, my eyes,
hmm,
because yeah, it's a good example of a really not great lymphatic system. Dr. Morse covered it. I'll show my right eye. He covered it, and his phrase was, yeah, it's a complete mess. And the thickness, this was 3 years ago, the thickness of the lymphatic system was like bad. You just see what now understanding the thickness. You see there are blue eye. You see some darkness. These are weaknesses here, but pretty good, really strong constitution. Thank God. Um, but really not great. The gut and just everywhere full lymph nodes. And I always
Hmm.
grew up with boys, pretty healthy diet, but eating organic goat's milk, raw milk, uh, best quality organic bread you could get. All the wrong foods though. Um, but the the thing to I forgot what my original point was, but it was to do with uh, when you see the level of stagnation, you can get a typical detox symptom, especially up here. There's a lot of mucus in the sinus head region, is head colds, and that's what I got when I begun. It was just blowing my nose, a fever. Um, I've got some thyroid and parathyroid weakness, so when you have a thyroid weakness, that's body temperature, you may experience a hotter fever, so a little more discomfort. Not to freak out, your body has raised its temperature to rid itself of waste. When you blow your nose, that is literally lymphatic fluid coming out of your nose, and the color of it will directly match the level of stagnation. So in my head, I got yellow, thick white, and yellow mucus out, and what do I see in my eyes? Thick white and yellow. You really, I can't think of any inconsistency or weird thing in the eyes. Everything just is always connected and makes a lot of sense. Um, so I'm just showing this as an example of thick lymphatic stagnation, and that I still have thick lymph. It's a lot less thick. Like there's not these thick white lines anymore. There's like more spots with white, and uh, I've had a few healing crises, but overall I felt really, really, really good. I don't know about you, Dylan, but as soon as the kidney filtration is achieved really well, all the problems come down. Your skin is one of the first things to clear up really nicely, and you can just go on your way and get stuck in and really just take it very seriously and have fun with it. And check your eyes every sort of 3 to 6 months to track your progress if you want to do that. But you can still have a lymphatic eye like mine, and still feel amazing. And I think because these eyes are at Dr. Morse's school in the iridology segment as an eye to study for not a great lymphatic system. um, but I feel great because the lymphatic system is moving. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's yeah, it's very interesting. It's all very interesting. I think I like what you said right near the start about how obviously like genetics do play a role, but I guess epigenetics as they're finding now, like Dr. Bruce Lipton and how
Mhm.
genes can change and that side of
Mhm.
things. I think that's
Mhm.
so good that you do work with people in terms of like getting them on specific herbs and
Mhm.
actually putting them on more fruits and that side of things because yeah it's the most detoxifying food, isn't it? Fruit, like you say,
Yeah.
has these astringent properties.
Yeah.
um I guess in terms of astringents, so from my understanding that's kind of eliminating sort of waste and pulling
Yeah.
pulling that into the lymph the lymph fluid and that side of things. What would
Yeah.
you say are like the most astringent and powerful fruits like that you personally eat or you'd recommend to people?
Grape juice. But
Yeah.
legit though, grapes.
Hmm.
In Germany, they are known as the queen of fruits. Uh, Astringents, yeah, vegetable kingdom doesn't have them. Uh, and they're very vegetables, very alkalizing and calming, and they can be a great way to balance out. And a lot of people that have listened to Dr. Morse, or even Arnold Ehret will know that fruits can be very, very powerful because the whole lymphatic system begins to move. All the waste in the sea. Think of the lymph system as a sea of vessels around every gland and organ, connecting to every gland and organ, the same way blood is connecting to every gland and organ. And now that begins to move, and you have old waste in there, you have pharmaceutical drugs in there, you get head spinning, you get disoriented feelings, you just lie down and you look gaunt, you look emaciated. Uh, these things can happen during detox, and it's one of those things I've said to clients before. If they get into a healing crisis, I would much rather see them get stricter by going on grape juice or a mono grape diet or whatever mono fruit they can get, and just a lot of liquid, even just foregoing liquids or juice to get out of that acute stage as quickly as possible, because if you stay on the slower moving side, you can prolong the experience of the detox that you are currently experiencing. Yeah, a fever can be intense. Yeah, that can really knock you on your ass, quite literally. But you'll move out of it a lot quickly when you have a well balanced, astringent diet. Hence why you see people going to grape diets. Johanna Brandt worded it pretty beautifully that you can take a perfectly healthy human being, and get them onto grapes, and their weaknesses will get exposed pretty quickly. She even said within 1 to 2 weeks, that person could be a pretty sorry sight. They were her words. And we can conclude what that is. A sorry sight could be bedridden, looking like they're really ill, looking like they're not doing well at all. But then, in a matter of time, typically sooner than later, that individual can be a few days, it can be a few weeks. They come out the other end absolutely buzzing, and then every now and then they have these detox symptoms that may come and go, or they may just have an amazing time majority of the time. And the astringents is what's helping you do that. And that is why if we can, I'm always trying as a practitioner to get my clients onto as well a balanced astringent protocol and diet program as efficiently and as safely and as quickly as possible, because far better you go through detox symptoms and come out the other end feeling $1,000,000 than fluffing around way too long. But it's also important to know that certain astringents, like cooked grape juice, which this is, I would much rather fresh grape juice. But for an individual that hasn't done any fruit, and you go and buy store-bought cooked grape juice, you're probably going to find yourself in a world of hurt pretty quickly. Not because I think it would be damaging you, but because it's just too fast, and your body's just, oh, all the floodgates have opened up and I'm feeling crazy. If you go a bit slower, with less astringent, then think of like an orange is very astringent, lemon very astringent, lime's very astringent. What's less astringent? There's more sweet fruits typically. Bananas are less astringent. Mangoes are less astringent. They're still astringent, but they've got a more balance to them. Grapes are a unique one. They are very sweet, but they are really astringent as well. But they're a great balance. If you do like a diet with bananas and grapes and mangoes and papayas, you're going to detox very well, and you may just feel amazing. But again, expect detox symptoms, and they are wanted. We want to have detox symptoms. You want to be able to. I know Dr. Morse said you want your clients, years ago when I graduated. He's like, you want your clients to get sick. You want your clients to get a head cold. You want them to not be afraid of this. And the clients I see that don't get that so much are the ones with better genes. The ones typically with worse lymph and a more weak, a weaker genetic constitution. They typically have them pretty quickly.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. Like you say, that's why I like this more, holistic, naturopathic world where you're not focusing on suppressing symptoms like the medical world. You
Mm-hmm.
actually, if you do get symptoms, that's fine. That's your body eliminating the waste, like you say, the lymphatic
Yep.
system doing its job. So I think that's a
Yep.
really important distinction, because often we'll take,
Yep.
a paracetamol to get rid of our headache, but like you say, some of the medication can be stored in our tissues.
Yep.
So yeah, are there any final? Yeah, go on,
No, I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, I, I like to use real world analogies with things like this, like a house or a car. Because if you have termites in the wall, are you just going to go, actually, let's just patch that and we'll paint
Yeah.
over it? The termites are still there. No, maybe the whole wall has been eroded and decayed. We need to knock out the whole wall and build a new one. What happens in the human body if an area is so weak? It'll literally get rid of inferior cells. This is where you see someone get really lean, very skinny. People freak out about this, not knowing that weight is waste at the end of the day. And if your body does lose a lot, it shows your body has a lot of weakness. The body's not just going to, if it can repair a slightly weakened cell, the body will do that. But if it's beyond, it's like, no, get it out. We'll build a new one. No worries. And this is where you see, like, at Dr. Moss's website, he's showing like the regeneration of the toe, people getting out of wheelchairs. I've had some pretty cool things with clients as well regarding neurological and like arms that didn't work. Like this one guy in a wheelchair with MS. I needed to do a testimonial with him, but he was all on grapes. and he managed to use his hands and could pick things up. Sure, he wasn't out of the wheelchair yet, but he managed to use his hands. But that was some months, 2, 3 months of grapes and nothing else. And people kind of think that's really weird and crazy, but at the end of the day, as you said, Dylan, it's not a suppressing of the problem anymore. We're now going in the other direction, the same way with a house. We need to remove the whole wall and rebuild a new one, or maybe we just need to fix what is already there. Or like with a car, if you have a problem with the car, they take the car apart. It doesn't look like the car anymore. It looks damaged. It looks, where's the front of the car gone? Or we have to take it off to repair. It's just in the same fashion, the human body goes through a reconstruction. It goes through a rebuilding, because it is a rebuilding. And people often refer to fruit diets as not sustainable because they are only a detoxing thing. But Arnold Ehret showed pretty conclusively through himself and other followers of him, and long-term fruitarians that do it well, that you can live on it very well if you go through the detoxification process correctly, and you also use mucusless foods if fruits are too powerful. Professor Arnold Ehret, or now Professor Spira, shows this through the mucusless diet healing system today, that we can balance with those foods, and we can use them to help us through the detoxification journey. Because in the end, once all those problems are gone, then what problem do you have? You don't have a problem. If you get in a crash or an accident, your body can heal it. You rest, you get repaired, whatever. You go to the hospital, they straighten you out, you take herbs, your body regenerates itself, and then you're good to go. And the thing with the diets that we've eaten is our body never gets the chance to do that, because we're always putting food in, we're always exercising too much, we're staying up too late, we're always bombarding with 2, 3, 4, 5 meals a day, stimulating with caffeine. The body never gets a break. And yet every other species is here, often fasting, often without food for a longer period of time, often surrounded by nature and natural resources, and the natural world that is helping you heal. I think there was a great image from one of Arnold Ehret's sanitariums of an outdoor patient ward with lines of beds, and there was no roof because there were sunbeds.
Like Florence Nightingale, I remember one of the first things she did was just open all the windows and get the patients outside. Like
No way! I had no idea. I haven't heard. I've never even heard that name.
Florence
That's amazing.
Nightingale.
No.
Yeah, I think she was. I think we were taught about her in school. She was like a really
Wow.
famous English nurse or doctor who helped a lot of soldiers in the war. She
Wow.
just got them outside, and
Well,
yeah.
perfect. Makes perfect sense. Exactly. And not to be afraid of detoxification, because uh, as you said before, often you can get worse before you get better. And
hmm
yes, but no, it can feel, the symptoms of detoxification can be exactly the same as the symptom of the disease symptom you're experiencing. Just the difference that I explain to clients is, one is you suppress the symptom and you suppress the problem, and you begin to feel those problems later: headaches, migraines, IBS, whatever. Or you go down the detox road, soon you get some migraines, some headaches, some discomfort, bloating, but then it will end. One is going down the path of regeneration, one is going down the path of, well, it's going to lead you down medical, and we know where that goes.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, I guess, are there any closing words from you, and where can people like reach out to you if they want to work with you? Maybe they want
Yeah,
to get their own iridology reading, or yeah,
sure.
they want to work with you.
Well, yeah, you can find me at rawgenerate.com. You can also find me at rawgenerate on Instagram. I'll if you message me, I'll reply to you. I'm not the kind of person that's, if you are very serious, I will direct you to the free call, get you on the phone, we can chat, whatever your problems you have. But if you just want to learn about iridology, this book here, Iridology Simplified, this is a thin little manual. It's got, I don't get my money for this or anything. It's literally got really nice, thick, waterproof paper. This thing is literally your best, cheap how-to guide to read your eyes and help friends, family, yourself, and get a really nice understanding of what's going on in your body to be able to help people. Because iridology is really fun. It's so cool when you sit down with someone, you show them the eyes, and you go, "Dude, look at that," or "Look at that." Well, that makes perfect sense. And then your friend goes, or your client goes, "Well, that makes sense because you pointed something out." And I had a lady recently. I pointed something out in her reproductive system, and I said, "Oh, I imagine if maybe you tried to have a child, you'd really struggle because of this hormonal suppression. And then she's like, oh my God, yeah. I remember this doctor when I was really little said that the gland wasn't doing too well and that, I may have trouble conceiving. And she completely forgotten about it. And she said, I told you nothing about this. And we're having a live discussion in the consult about this. And she was going, wow, this is amazing. And it was more just a speculation. I was going, look, it could, like maybe not, but if it's overproducing or underproducing, it can specifically underproducing. There's not enough power there, hormonal, likely not enough. And I said a blood panel work would tell you that. There's so much excitement that comes in because nothing is random. Everything makes sense. I've never had a client walk away going, man, I'm so confused. What do I do? I'm screwed. They might go away with maybe knowing a few more problems than they had, or they go away with maybe a bit overwhelmed. That's very common, and I always say, please come talk to me. Like we'll have a chat. I always say to my clients as well, like even if you've got a one-off consult, you can ask me questions. You can come in and say, Jake, can you clarify this, or what does this mean? But I always try to give as much support through PDFs, the report, communication, talking to them, because this is a whole new way of being at the end of the day. This is a whole new way of looking at health. And with a book like this and a new understanding of health, yeah, people can change the world. I bet there's people right now using this book and using iridology with a friend somewhere in the country doing amazing things, hands down. And I see that's what has driven Dr. Morse, is that the spread of knowledge like this, and by someone listening to this, they can go pick up that book for next to nothing. If they don't want to go and study at the school or don't want to come and book an iridology reading with me, they can go get this book and they can go learn themselves, because self-empowerment is the best thing. Like, you're the one driving your car. Like, I'm not going to do it for you. I can help you. Dylan can help you. But at the end of the day, you have to do it. And that's actually a cool thing, not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Amen to that. I think we'll end on that. And yeah,
awesome, bro.
I appreciate your time. Appreciate you breaking that down for everyone. And yeah, appreciate everyone listening this far. Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much,
love.
Dylan. Much love, mate.